Hey everybody, what is up? It's the most wonderful time of the year here on
Bum, bum,
Sports
bum,
Frenzy.
bum.
It is football season, and it is particularly the start of the NFL season. I'm the maestro,
Woohoo!
Kevin Crane,
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
taping here September the 7th, 2022. Tomorrow night, this will hit Thursday morning, the 8th, so tonight,
As you listen to this,
finally, football, real football, sorry, college fans, real football is back. The NFL is back with what, some of our
could
panelists think might be a preview of the Super Bowl right off the bat.
potentially
So why don't we get into that, Dave? Let us discuss
our preseason picks.
our NFL predictions for the 2022-2023 season.
All right.
Of course, these serve as our tiebreakers also for our football picks competition.
They do.
We have 8 different topics. We have the NFL MVP, the 2 AFC championship teams, the winner of that game, same with the NFC, and then the Super Bowl winner.
Yep. So we will start off with our NFL MVP. Almost a unanimous decision for Josh Allen. But the big blue W throws the monkey wrench in it, going with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. 7 of the 8 people on our Sports Frenzy panel go with Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills as their choice for MVP.
Yep. Mahomes, not bad, but he doesn't have Tyreek. They've had a lot of changes on the roster.
Thanks to his contract.
Yeah, his contract has hosed them in who they were able to hold on to. So it's going to be a crapshoot in Kansas City. How well will that offense run?
Will Juju Smith-Schuster emerge, signing the 1-year deal with the Chiefs?
Yep.
Will he become the next big stud target for Patrick Mahomes?
Is Travis Kelce going to continue to be the elite tight end, or is time going to catch up with him?
Be very interesting here. Now, if we look at our picks for the AFC Championship game, everybody on the panel, all 8 of us, are taking the Bills as one of those 2 representatives.
Yep. And then the second team gets a little iffy. We've got a lot of different options in here.
5 picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 4 picks for the Chiefs.
Yep.
We've got 1 Bengals, 1 Ravens, 1 Chargers, and 1 Colts. So, yeah, a little bit of dissension here.
Yeah.
My reasoning behind not jumping on the Chiefs bandwagon is simply that, number one, the AFC West is too tough.
It's very
The Chiefs
tough.
are not going to have home field advantage.
No, they will
because
not
even
get
if
that.
they win that division, they're going to suffer at least 5 losses.
Yeah.
And I think somebody like the Colts in an easier division
Getting home field
will end up posting a better record, getting home field, and that will be the difference.
Yep. I'm going with the Chargers. I think it's their time to shine. They've shown flashes that they might be ready, and Herbert's coming in. This is the year for him to make that epic jump up at the quarterback position.
I love the Chargers. I really, really do.
Their coach is what could hold them back.
Exactly. When we get to our picks here, our 10 picks for NFL Week 1 coming up after this and after we hit on some of the headlines of the week, I'll discuss the Chargers a little bit more. But I think the Chargers could be one of the top 2 or 3 most talented rosters in the NFL, if not number 1.
All right, NFC Championship teams.
Now, wait. We haven't finished yet.
We have the AFC champion.
We've got the Bills for 6 of us.
Yes.
6 of our 8 panelists are taking Buffalo. We do have Doug going with last year's AFC champion, the Bengals. And that is such a rare feat to pull off. I don't see it
double,
happening.
I don't know. And then the big blue W, Bill is going with the Chiefs.
Now we go to the NFC.
Now the NFC. Team 1 running through.
Now, this is a little tricky because I think our picks kind of are scattershot between the Rams and the Buccaneers.
Right.
So 6 of us take the Rams. And then I do have the Eagles playing the Rams. Dave's got the Buccaneers and the 49ers.
Yes.
Sam's got the Rams Packers. Bill's got the Bucks Packers. Jen's got the Rams Buccaneers. Nick's got Rams Buccaneers. Doug's got Rams Buccaneers. And Aaron has Rams Buccaneers. So there you go.
Very intriguing.
I'm using kind of the same logic for my Eagles pick. I don't like the Buccaneers offensive line. I don't like Todd Bowles as a head coach. Something's going to happen along the way. Time catches up with Tom Brady. Injuries. Again, that offensive line is not
weak NFC.
That's why I'm taking the Eagles. I think this is a year where you could see somebody rise up.
Somebody like them.
Like the Bengals last year in the AFC. I think the Eagles do that this year in the NFC. Because
you never know.
Who else do you trust? I don't trust the Packers without any receivers for Aaron Rodgers.
Nobody.
I don't trust. The Rams are the closest to a team that I trust. And, of course, I've got them beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship. The 49ers, I don't know what you're going to get out of Trey Lance. Now, I know you picked them, so you must like them.
I figure it's going to be Jimmy G at some point. That's going to be the difference to get them in there.
Solid defense, very good defense, good skill position
Trey
players.
Lance will not be the quarterback the whole season.
It all comes down to the quarterback with San Francisco.
Yeah. And I can see Trey Lance being on a short leash with Super Bowl expectations.
So in the end, our NFC champion picks, 5 of us are taking the Rams. The other 3 are going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that leads us to our Super Bowl picks.
And it's almost 6 of the 8 are going with the Bills. We've got Bill taking the Chiefs and Doug going with the Rams.
Yep. And again, not bad picks. We'll talk more about the Chiefs later on.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of question marks there.
The Rams, I could see repeating if everything rolls their way again like it did last year. But again, that's a tough ask.
Yeah. And is Nagy really going to be able to do anything to keep them going in Kansas City since he's been brought back into the fold by Andy Reid?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, let's start off. Let's move into the headlines of the week. Let's start off with the Chiefs because this is a very, very sore point of contention for Dave and I. We'll see what happens. We'll report it on next week's podcast, but rumor is Andy Reid's son, Britt Reid, will plead guilty.
It's about damn time.
On Monday, revolving around that drunken driving accident where he basically permanently incapacitated a young girl.
Yeah. It's been over a year now that we've been dealing with this story out there. And it's just now getting to this point where he's going to plead guilty. And what kind of plea deal did he make?
That's what I am going to probably go ballistic about next week. When I hear, again, number one, you make a fair point. The wheels of justice always seem to grind slowly, especially when it comes to a celebrity.
Yeah,
or the
somebody
son
with
of a
a
celebrity,
name.
or the daughter of a celebrity.
A named person, sorry, they get preferential frickin' treatment.
Then that leads me to part 2 next week. If on Monday he enters a guilty plea, and then
And if it's to a lesser charge,
7 years is what the maximum penalty is. If he gets probation, community service,
then we are going to go absolutely bonkers on this program.
He needs to serve time. He needs to serve jail time.
He needs to be put away for the maximum amount of time. And he needs to have serious probation afterwards. He should never be allowed to drive again. There's a lot that needs to happen to this guy for repeated offenses.
Just like I went off a couple weeks ago on Anne Heche in the Weekend Edition, the actress who died because she was stoned and drunk off her ass and could have killed many, many innocent people. She got lucky in that she didn't have to face the full wrath of Sports Frenzy because she met her maker without having to go in front of a judge, without having to go in front of a jury. And then if I had seen her get a slap on the wrist, I literally would have just driven myself to the hospital because I know I would have had a stroke from anger, rage.
It's bad enough how all of her sycophants out in California were, oh, poor Anne, she's gone before her time. We lost somebody special. No, bull crap.
No sympathy. No sympathy.
None.
All right, other NFL news. Couple of retirements. One of a jersey and one of an actual player. News came down today. Wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders is retiring.
Yep, 35 years old, two-time Pro Bowler.
Solid player. Very solid player.
Very good.
And then, of course, the Steelers. I couldn't believe this. This is only the third number they've retired in their history.
That's surprising that they've only retired 3.
Yep, number 3 is going to be number 32. Franco Harris, of course.
Yep.
The great running back. You could retire 2/3 of the starting lineup. The numbers from 2/3 of the starting lineup from the Steel Curtain years.
No kidding. That was
next to the Bears' one-year team. Now, you can make an argument that Steel Curtain Pittsburgh team that won 4 Super Bowls over a 6-year span, for longevity purposes, could be the greatest team of all time. Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Patriots fans, they would kick your ass.
Big time.
With that defense,
those
receivers, that running game, Rocky Blyer and Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw under center, that team had to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, constructed team roster-wise of all time.
Yep.
Now, again, there was no free agency, or at least it wasn't as prevalent as it was back then, so you pretty much stayed with who drafted you. But the fact that the Steelers drafted all those players.
They drafted them. They were able to stay healthy throughout that entire run. That's impressive in and of itself.
Yep. Now, of course, God, we can't go a week without talking about stupid money. Russell Wilson gets his 5-year extension. Of course, that was the big point of contention last year. Why the rumblings and the rumors about him wanting to get traded out of Seattle because they didn't want to give him this kind of money. But the Broncos
have more than enough money to be able to do this.
5-year extension with the Broncos, which will be 2024 through 2028. He will play out the remainder of his current contract before this extension kicks in. $165 million guaranteed. Total amount, if he plays the entire contract to its end, the extension, $245 million.
Crazy.
I wouldn't have done it.
Nope.
I wouldn't have done it.
No, we still don't know. We don't know if he's worth that kind of money. He's never shown that he's worth that kind of money.
You'll probably dispute me on this. He is, I think, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Considering some of the guys that have gotten in.
Yeah, probably.
Now, maybe if he gets injured game 1, blows out his knee, cannot put up any more stats, no more TD passes, no more passing yards. maybe then we could have a debate. But I'm just assuming he's going to make it through at least 3 or 4 more years. It'll put him in Hall of Fame
pretty
range.
Close.
Yeah.
He'll be in the vicinity.
Just like we talked about, though, with the AFC West as strong as it is, the Broncos could end up first. The Broncos could end up last.
Yeah, any of those guys.
4-team division is a shootout. It is going to be
that is
fantastic
a stacked
to watch.
Division.
Yes, any of those 4 teams could finish first or last.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of talent that's playing in the AFC West.
And you know whose contract's going to be coming up next? Maybe. It's got to get done soon because I'm sure he's going to pull one of those. I'm not going to negotiate during the regular season. Is Lamar Jackson? He's the next one up.
He's the next one up.
But he's another one. I don't know if I'm going to give him money. I don't know if I'm giving him the money, Dave.
I don't know that you can. He's not the complete package.
Dave and I, of course, we're not doctors. We only play doctors on this podcast. But if you recall, about 2-3 weeks back, when they were talking about Zach Wilson of the Jets playing week 1, and we said, no way in hell.
Nope.
Not when he had to get the slight tear in his meniscus fixed. There was no way, Dave and I saw him playing in week 1.
No, they were saying 2 to 4 weeks. What were we saying? 4 to 6 minimum.
Yep. So now word finally comes out. The Jets held off as long as they possibly could before now admitting at the earliest Zach Wilson will be ready for week 4.
Doesn't put him out to what we were saying?
I believe so, Dr. Dave.
Thank you, Dr. Kev.
I'll tell you what, for week 1, that makes the Ravens defense look really, really good because Joe Flacco, the statue, is going to be quarterbacking the Jets.
Yep.
Boy, I wish I had the Ravens defense. Oh, wait, I've got the 49ers defense. They're playing the Bears. Never mind. I'm okay.
You're okay.
Speaking of the Bears, we've got Bears news before we move on to our NFL picks for week 1. Wouldn't you know, Kev brings up last week the Raiders trying to get rid of the Mike Mayock, John Gruden players as quickly as possible, and I mentioned one.
They could not get rid of them fast enough.
I mentioned one offensive tackle by the name of Alex Leatherwood, who was the first-round pick of the Raiders in 2021. So guess who claimed him off waivers, Dave?
Gee, did you?
The Chicago Bears.
Of course,
with an NFL high 6 waiver claims, one of them being Mr. Leatherwood. Mr. Leatherwood will get paid $14.39 million guaranteed this year under his rookie deal. So now all of a sudden, Riley Reif about 3 weeks back, Alex Leatherwood, the Bears are now finding all this money to pay their offensive linemen.
Gee. It's all the money that they were saving, nitpicking everywhere else.
Roquan Smith?
Yeah.
He must really be happy about this. More money that he's
not
entitled to, in my opinion. Because God help us, if we end up wiping that slate clean, those 3 linebackers we had of Khalil Mack, Floyd, and then Roquan Smith, if we get rid of all 3 of them,
then there's a major problem.
Oh, you know who that problem could be? The man who's retiring after the 2022-23 season.
It's about time that guy's getting the hell out.
I don't trust it.
No,
he's done this before. He's done this before.
Stinky in Denmark with this.
He's hinted at this before.
He has. Until he is actually gone, I will not believe it.
No. I think he does want to see this final Bears tidbit through to the end before he actually does call it quits. As the Bears released plans for what they want to do with the 326-acre Arlington Park property that they have not technically bought yet.
No, they are close to finalizing the purchase, but their brand new state-of-the-art domed stadium in Arlington as part of their entire complex, sports, entertainment, shopping, food, hotels. It's your one-stop shop that most places are trying to put together. And if the Bears somehow do this correctly, which I think we're all on the
in agreement that
they're going to find a way to screw it up.
Yeah.
Because it's the Bears. It's the McCaskies. Yeah. Ugh.
Of course, the one nice thing about this whole deal is they're screwing over the idiot mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, with her 3 plans for how they could keep the Bears at Soldier Field. No, sorry. It's past its prime. It needs to be done and over with. And let's face it, if for no other reason for the Bears to have Arlington Park their own place, it's to get away from the damn Parks Department and their screw up of the field time after time after time.
Yeah, maybe we'll finally stop hearing other teams complaining about the turf at Soldier Field.
How about our own team complaining about the turf at Soldier Field?
All right, I think it's time for our 10 picks for NFL Week 1.
I think it is.
Boy, it feels good to get back into this. Really does. All right, as I mentioned at the top of the segment, Thursday, September the 8th, what a lot of us are considering a Super Bowl preview right off the bat. The Bills go into SoFi Stadium to play the LA Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions. Now, a lot of us have the Bills taking over that mantle this year as the Super Bowl champions. Our 8 panelists, all picks are in. 6 of the 8 have the Bills.
Yep, the road team for most everybody. I, along with Aaron, are taking the home team, the Rams, right out of the gate. Most notably because the Rams are not disciplining Aaron Donald for swinging helmets during practice. They should have at least self-disciplined with a 1-game suspension.
It's just another example of celebrity justice.
Yep.
If anybody been the 53rd guy on the roster.
If it would have been anybody else in the NFL except for Aaron Donald, this would have been a much bigger deal and the hammer would have come down. And Donald himself is, it was just practice. It wasn't a big deal. No, bullshit. You could have killed somebody or at least maimed them and kept them out for a season. Absolute garbage. And I'm surprised the Bengals aren't making a bigger deal out of it. What money has exchanged hands to keep them quiet?
Speaking of the Bengals, as we move on to Sunday, September the 11th, of course, a solemn day in history for America. I'm sure there'll be plenty of military tributes and
everything else.
Yep. Steelers at Bengals. The Bengals get ready to defend their AFC championship. Nobody has any love for Mitch Trubisky? What?
Surprising, isn't it?
What? The newly anointed starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Going on the road, Bengals across the board.
Eagles going up to Detroit to play the Lions. Of course, Lions were on Hard Knocks. So everybody fell in love with the coaching staff, a bunch of old school ex-players.
Yep. Guess what? Only 1 pick for the Lions.
Who could that be?
Gee, would it be the Lions fan himself, the elder statesman?
That's right. 7 picks for the Eagles, 1 on Lions Island. Good game. Patriots at the Dolphins. We find out, will the Joe Judge, Matt Patricia co-offensive coordinator situation work? I'm hearing a lot of bad things coming out of Boston. A lot of a lot of sports guys, writers, radio people saying this is not going to work.
Yeah, a little bit of dissension coming out of New England there.
Yep.
So, but what are we going to get out of Miami with the Tua Tyreek connection?
Defense is solid.
Defense is there.
They've got enough running backs. Now we'll see if the new eccentric head coach, let's put it that way, can pull them together. Most of our panel thinks, at least for week 1, they will.
Yep, we have the Big Blue W, Bill on Patriot Island. Everyone else with Miami.
Yep. Now, Dave and I here for the Jaguars at the Commanders once again show, like we did last week, taking the Gators to win in the swamp over number 7 Utah in the college ranks. People on our panel just don't get it. They don't understand the wisdom that comes out of your podcast host. There's nuances
that you have to look at, and the Commanders are a frickin' mess.
But for some reason, everybody but Dave and I thinks Washington is going to win this game. Now we're looking at a new Jaguars team with.
It's not the Urban Meyer-led.
It's
crap
the former Super Bowl winning coach Doug Peterson. You've got a lot of veterans on this team, so it's not like last year where they were all. Trevor Lawrence has got a year in now.
Yep.
Travis Etienne's coming in. You've got Christian Kirk coming over as wide receiver number 1 from the Cardinals.
Yes. There's a lot of positives going into Jacksonville.
What are the positives for the Commanders? Carson Wentz at quarterback.
That's an automatic bye-bye.
Chase Young is not playing defense yet. He's still injured.
Yep.
Ryan Kerrigan has retired. He's now a coach. Sorry, I have no reason to take the Commanders in this game.
None whatsoever.
This was easy for me.
Me too. That was a no-brainer.
Yep. Jaguars for Dave and I. Everybody else, Washington. Browns at Panthers. Who will get their revenge? Will it be Baker Mayfield? Will it be Myles Garrett? That scares me. Myles Garrett scares me. But
he does. We'll
Jacoby Brissett scares me more at quarterback for the Browns.
He does, but I like the Browns' defense better than Carolina's.
I know.
And that's why I took the Browns.
Yep. So we've got the Browns for Dave, for Bill, and for Jen. 5 other picks for the Panthers. So pretty close there. Pretty close.
That was a tough one to pick.
Yeah, let's talk about this game for a couple minutes. We'll carry over our last few picks into segment 2. I do like the fact they went with Baker Mayfield. Now, of course, with the injuries to Matt Corral and Sam Darnold, now they didn't have a choice.
There was no choice. But you knew when they brought him in, he was going to be the starter. That he had to be.
And you figure he can only make DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson better as wide receivers.
Right.
He does. Here's the deciding factor, believe it or not, for me. At least for week 1, he's healthy. Christian McCaffrey is healthy to start the season. So at least for week 1,
that's
an X
At least
factor.
for the first series.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I do agree with you. It was a tough call because that Browns defense with Myles Garrett, they are going to have to double team Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
no other way around it because Garrett's going to be coming after Baker Mayfield. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Browns, obviously knows Baker Mayfield's tendencies.
Yep.
I don't know if it's quite an even reciprocal thing where Baker Mayfield can really tell the Panthers a lot about what the Browns do.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not so much on defense. They might have changed things enough up on offense.
I think it's going to come down to, can Jacoby Brissett do anything? Because you can't just hand the ball to Nick Chubb over and over and over again.
Can he not lose the game?
Right. I could see the Browns defense making a big play, but I could also see the Browns offense being so inept
that they don't put anything up, and I could see Brissett throwing a pick 6.
Yep. We've got 4 more pro picks coming. We're carrying over to segment 2. All you have to do is listen to a quick promo. We'll be right back, and then we will dive right into week 2 of NCAA football, kids, and recap week 1. A crazy
week 1.
Just ask Brian Kelly.
Oh, do I have to ask Brian Kelly?
Hang on, kids. We will be right back.
This episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0 is brought to you by the Bills Mafia Marital Aid Company, because when you are down and out, we'll bring you back up and in the game. Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher. All right, kids, this is the Conquistador Dave Height.
Along with the maestro Kevin Crane in the middle of a swallow of his beer.
Segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here for September 8th as we record on the 7th of September 2022. NFL carryover here on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Amazon, Audible, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! All right, our NFL predictions for week 1 continue. Packers at the Vikings.
This was the toughest game for me to pick. I remember this was the last one that I filled in.
It was. I don't know.
I have problems with the Packers, as we mentioned in our season predictions in segment
No
1.
wide receivers.
I don't know who Aaron Rodgers is going to trust, who he's going to throw the ball to. Basically, if I was a defense, I would key on shutting down the two-headed monster in the running game with Dillon and Jones and make Aaron Rodgers beat you? I mean, wow. Who'd have thought you'd ever hear somebody say that?
Yeah, make Aaron Rodgers find somebody to throw to.
Right. And I've heard who was supposed to be his de facto number 1, Alan Lazard, is dinged up.
Yeah, so that throws a monkey wrench.
So that leaves him with what, Sammy Watkins and a bunch of rookies?
Yeah, but then it's the frickin' Vikings.
And who's the Vikings quarterback?
Kirk Cousins.
Do you really trust Kirk Cousins? Now, here's the problem. Dave and I, in a way, are hypocrites.
We are, because we
were the ones that initially called out back then, the Redskins.
For having 2 solid quarterbacks.
And we thought
we wanted Cousins for the Bears. We wanted a deal to be made. But
Washington held on to both, kept trying to keep hope alive that Robert Griffin was going to somehow turn into the great quarterback that his lofty pick, well, he's number 2 in the draft, he was selected.
Number 2 overall, yeah.
Whereas Kirk Cousins was rounds and rounds later, but Mike Shanahan was smart enough to realize the owner likes Robert Griffin. He's making me pick him. But I'm going to have an insurance policy.
Insurance with an actual quarterback who can sit in the pocket and throw.
And Dave and I were both saying within 2 years, we were saying, you got to put Kirk Cousins in if you're Washington and give up on RG3.
Now, since he's been in Minnesota, was being in Washington, did that hurt his development as a pro quarterback? Did that destroy any confidence he had?
You know who he reminds me of, in a way? He reminds me of Kerry Collins. He's putting up a lot of numbers, a lot of great numbers, Hall of Fame level numbers, but Kerry Collins even got to a Super Bowl. Now, Kirk Cousins hasn't, but they were the type, Collins and Cousins are the type of quarterbacks.
They do a lot of garbage time.
Yeah, and they can't win when it comes to playoff games or big regular season games.
Right.
And right off the bat here, this is a big, big game. Brand new head coach. Can Kirk Cousins sack up, get the Vikings off to a great start in the NFC North, and really, right off the bat, put a nice little dent
in Packer Nation
and Aaron Rodgers' confidence? You know,
that would be nice. 3 of our panelists think the Vikings can do so.
Yep, Jen, Nick, and Aaron.
The rest of us are falling back with the Packers because until they are beaten within the division, they are the team to beat in the division.
Yes, so regretfully, we are going with the lateral thinker.
Yes, unfortunately.
Kansas City Chiefs going in to play the Arizona Cardinals. Even with all the criticism we've levied here so far on this show this week,
Questioning the Chiefs, they're still in a better place than the Cardinals are.
We were talking about the crazy money that Russell Wilson got from the Denver Broncos. Guess what? He deserved that money more than Kyler Murray deserved the money he got recently from the Cardinals.
Yeah, Kyler Murray has done nothing to deserve that kind of money. So, the Chiefs for everybody except for Jen and Doug, who are going with the Cardinals.
Yeah, and you got to remember, DeAndre Hopkins, 4-game suspension.
He's not there.
There's a weapon that Kyler Murray does not have. Easy pick, if you ask me.
Yes, it was. That was one of the first ones penciled in.
Now, this one was a tough pick, but you won't know it from how our panelists' picks turned out.
This came down to me. Home team advantage.
Yeah, Raiders at the Chargers. Now, this is kind of an interesting week because normally Chargers and Rams can't play home games on the same week. But because the Rams are playing Thursday night at SoFi, the Chargers can go ahead and play on Sunday.
Yeah, there's enough time to turn the field around to get it painted up for the Chargers.
But this is the first of many slobber knockers that are going to happen in the AFC West. These two teams are, in my opinion, arguably the most talented in that division when you look at the rosters.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle royale with this one.
This is going to be a close game. I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down to a field goal. The slight coaching edge goes to the Raiders with Josh McDaniels because Brandon Staley's got to show me he can coach a football team. Last year, he was not impressive.
No, he was not.
But the Chargers are so talented.
They're so good at home, usually.
Bosa, Mack, Derwin James on the defensive side, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert at quarterback. I mean, this team is loaded.
And it's the Chargers for everybody except for Nick, who's taking the Raiders on the road.
And, of course, the Raiders now refortified with Devontae Adams. I wonder about their running game. I don't know how much they trust Josh Jacobs.
Yep, we'll have to see how it all
Darren
plays
Waller
out.
can stay healthy, that helps them a lot, but he's kind of a China doll.
He's in that Christian McCaffrey area.
Yep, so Chargers, I say by a field goal. Finally, I'm going to call this our first Dave Visick game of the week. Dave Visick is one of our most loyal, if not our most loyal listeners, happens to also be my neighbor.
Yep.
And he complained and said, why don't you guys focus on one game a week? I said, okay, Dave.
Give us a game.
Oh, I don't want to get involved.
Then shut up, Dave. Wait,
no.
That's your line.
Yeah. So I am officially going to make the first Dave Visick game of the week the Sunday night game because it involves the Cowboys, who he will not admit he loves, but he does love, against my beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks go on the road to Dallas, to Arlington, to play the Cowboys. This is going to be an interesting one to wrap up our football picks. I see problems with both of these teams, especially on the offensive line on both sides.
Yeah, neither team is set with the offensive line. There's holes up and down everywhere. This
Cowboys lost Amari Cooper. Ezekiel Elliott is aging rapidly before our eyes. Dak Prescott, to me, is a good but not great quarterback. So without as many weapons as he's had in the past. Now, the defense is good under Dan Quinn, who stuck around instead of taking a head coaching job. The Buccaneers have problems to me. If I saw Bruce Arians on the sideline, it would be a no-brainer. But Todd Bowles as the head coach.
See what he brings to the table.
At least
that
Leftwich stuck around.
Line is very suspect right now.
Yes, that offensive line is already dinged up beyond belief, reminiscent of the running back position last season at this point for the Ravens. I mean, it was just injury after injury after injury.
Yeah.
So that worries me. That's why I didn't take the Bucs going deep into the playoffs. But I do think they are good enough to beat the Dallas Cowboys. You've got two inept head coaches, by the way, between Bowles and McCarthy.
God. It's pathetic. Everybody takes the Bucs except for me. I'm on Cowboy Island. Again,
Yeehaw!
This came down to the home team. Home field advantage.
Yeah, to me, this is the intriguing matchup is between the coordinators. Dan Quinn's defense against Byron Leftwich's offense with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Is Chris Godwin going to be ready to go? That's a question mark. No Rob Gronkowski. Is Leonard Fournette a big tub of goo? Yeah.
Is he going to be able to last a quarter, let alone the game?
We shall see. All right, kids. College football wrapping up week 1, heading into week 2. Week 1, of course, for our teams. Notre Dame lost to number 2 Ohio State, 21-10.
Actually, a respectable game by Notre Dame. They played one of the big teams on the road and did not get blown out. They had a chance to win, but Tommy Rees on offense called such a conservative second half game. He played not to lose instead of playing to win. Well, and there were questions with the quarterback.
Yeah, I just don't understand all the stories I saw saying that Buckner played well. I thought he looked like a poor man's Sam Bradford. He looked scared. He looked tentative to me, just chucking the ball up, hoping the receiver would be where they were supposed to be. Now, you'd realize Notre Dame's defense played phenomenal, and you know why. You know why.
Yes, we know why.
Because who is the defensive coordinator for the Irish, David?
Tell us.
That would be one Al Golden, former head coach for the University of Miami Hurricanes.
A very good defensive coordinator.
Damn Skippy. So from now on, I want half the credit for any win Notre Dame gets.
Because it couldn't coach a team on both sides of the ball. He is one of those guys who needs to be in a coordinator position where he excels. And you saw that on full display. And the one time where they blitzed, they got burned because the corner got burned badly on that last touchdown by Ohio State.
Now, this I had a problem with. So Notre Dame's 0-1. I think outside of the defense, I thought the offense again was vastly overrated and overmatched. Notre Dame only drops 3 spots in the polls to number 8. That's ridiculous. They should have been out of the top 10. That was not that impressive of a performance. We do realize, by the way, that Ohio State didn't exactly look great. So maybe penalize Ohio State too.
They dropped.
Well, Georgia jumped ahead of them. No kidding.
Yeah, go figure. The way that they steamrolled Oregon.
Yeah, Georgia should have been ahead of them
to begin with. How do you not have the defending national champ in either first or second?
And you know, Dave and I are completely unbiased here because we're ripping on the team that we both picked to win the national title in Ohio State. Yeah. They did not look like a national title team.
They've got some issues that they have to shore up too.
Now let's move on to real football. 1-0 Miami. Posting 70 points on Bethune-Cookman.
The poor handmaids of Bethune.
70-13. Mario Cristobal's homecoming was spectacular. Spectacular.
Yeah, maybe if they actually put a real team on the schedule. Let me ask
you something, David. My Hurricanes did something that they have struggled to do in the past under Mr. Al Golden.
Oh, you mean score?
Under Mr. Manny Diaz, who, by the way, is now the defensive coordinator at Penn State. No, these type of games they had on the schedule year after year after year. It was Bethune-Cookman. It was Appalachian State. And they would struggle to win the early games. And you could just tell the confidence was already down 2 games in before they got to the ACC schedule.
The all cupcake.
Now, Mario Cristobal says, the hell with that noise. We are steamrolling people again. We are going to wipe the floor with the cupcakes. Now, we'll see what happens in 2 weeks. How good is Jimbo Fisher? How good is Texas A&M when the hurricane comes blowing in to the Lone Star State?
Will the Hurricanes be ready for A&M?
Wash your mouth out with soap, David, for that blasphemy you just uttered. We will be ready.
When has Miami shown up in a huge game of late?
This is a new regime.
Until they can, we'll have to wait.
Who's got more wins as a head coach? Marcus Freeman or Mario Cristobal?
All right, Cristobal's got 1 win. Freeman's 0-2.
That's right. All right, couple other games of note.
Easy when it's Bethune.
Don't worry. You've got Marshall this week.
I know.
Marshall. Okay. Speaking of Appalachian State.
Oh!
Wild game they played against
insane.
North Carolina.
North Carolina had one of the most epic meltdowns in a fourth quarter.
Final score 63-61. Hope you bet the over on this.
No kidding. Good Lord.
Appalachian State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter alone.
That
and
is
still couldn't win the game.
Ridiculous. They had 2 failed 2-point conversions.
Dave's just mad because we picked that game and he picked App State.
Fell so just fell short.
On the opposite side of that coin, the mighty Iowa Hawkeyes put up 7 points versus South Dakota State. Now, they won the game.
They did on a field goal and 2 safeties.
Yes, they had 7 points and did not score a touchdown. Unbelievable.
That's not a good thing if you're an Iowa fan.
Well, it could be worse. You could be the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Oh, wow.
For the second time in 4 years. Old Dominion beats Va-Tech. Then it got worse.
It always gets worse.
Then the Hokies come off the field, get back to the locker room, and realize they've had a bunch of items stolen.
That's not good.
So Norfolk PD and Old Dominion University are working to try to find out what happened.
Who went into the Hokies locker room and stole all their stuff.
And extended their misery.
Yes, because losing wasn't bad enough.
Boy, you remember when Va-Tech was a power?
Way back when?
Wow. I mean, they have fallen. They have fallen far and bad. Hard. All right, I think it's time to go to our picks for week 2.
Week 2 on the college slate.
Now, we're not going to carry these over, so we might skip 1 or 2. If we do, you can see the entire slate on our Facebook page because I don't think Meta canceled it. It looks like it's still up and running.
Hopefully it'll stay there. All right. Louisville at UCF to start off the weekend.
That's the Friday night game.
Friday night. And it's almost unanimous for UCF. Doug is going with Louisville.
We move on to Saturday the 10th. Missouri at Kansas State.
Again, almost a unanimous slate, but Aaron is taking Missouri.
Everybody else takes K-State. Duke at Northwestern. That's a across-the-board pick.
Yep, Northwestern Wildcats. No love for Duke. Tennessee at number 17, Pittsburgh.
Now, keep in mind, when we talk about these rankings, these were from the pre-week 1
Right.
Because this is that screwed up week because Clemson, Georgia Tech played Monday night. We didn't get any rankings till Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, but we had
already
these
got our picks out.
Yeah. So Tennessee for half, Pittsburgh for half. Definitely
as we
an
look at our
intriguing
picks,
matchup.
as we look at our picks, we have our picks lined up based on seniority. So of course, Dave and I are the first two, and then it goes with down in terms of how long these people have been with Sports Frenzy.
Yeah.
So when I see a split like this where the first four take Tennessee and the second four take Pittsburgh, I kind of go, well, the Blue Bloods, the old school
panelists.
Sports Frenzy people seem to know what they're doing, where the younger pups, maybe a little naive.
Potentially.
I'll tell you why.
This is going to be a decent game, though.
I'll tell you why I went with Tennessee. I don't really have a great feel for that program. I keep waiting for them, another program that's been stumbling around for years trying to get back to greatness, back to the Philip Fulmer years. I watched some of the Pittsburgh, West Virginia game last week.
They didn't look that good.
You go from Kenny Pickett, who could be starting for the Steelers by week 5 or 6, first-round pick, to a USC transfer.
Yeah. USC is
We've talked about USC quarterbacks on this show in the past.
Yeah, how overrated they have been and
Leinart,
underperforming.
Sam Darnold, Barkley. I don't trust a USC quarterback or a transfer out of USC.
No, not at all. All right. Houston at Texas Tech. This should be another decent game. We'll have to see. 2 panelists take Houston, Nick and Doug. The rest of us going with the Red Raiders.
And it's a tricky game because Texas Tech lost their starting quarterback last week, and he's going to be out for a couple weeks at least. But I stuck with Tech because the backup quarterback, they were neck and neck in camp from what I could tell.
Yeah.
And
it was like 1A, 1B.
Right, and this kid came in for a decent chunk of last week's game, put up big numbers, so he should be able to slip right in, especially at home.
Yeah, and Houston getting their win, it wasn't against.
It was not impressive.
It was not impressive against UTSA.
Yeah.
That should have been a blowout for them, and they struggled.
Yep, agreed. Completely agree. Here's an interesting rivalry game early in the year.
Very early.
Iowa State at Iowa. We talked about Iowa and their ineptitude in week 1.
Yep. Iowa State had a dominant first outing.
Now, they didn't play anybody tough.
No.
I think they played Southeast Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that. But
I mean, come on. Iowa against South Dakota. Really?
Yeah,
Iowa should have rolled it.
There is no way. I agree with you completely. There is no excuse for Kirk Ferentz in that performance. So I say Iowa State rules.
Yep, I agree.
But the panel is split.
It
4-4. Dave and I take Iowa State, as does Bill and Jen, Sam, Nick, Doug, and Aaron go with the Hawkeyes.
Yep, thinking they might rebound on this one. All right. UAB at Liberty.
UAB, very impressive in their week 1 game. Liberty, of course, been a little bit of a buzzworthy team here over the last year or so. Of course, Malik Willis, the young quarterback, backup heir apparent to Ryan Tannehill with the Titans. So
we'll see that 2 Liberty picks, Jen and Nick.
Yeah, everybody else impressed enough with last week's performance to go with UAB. Our boys down in the swamp, back again on the slate.
Boys. The Swamp Boys from Florida, the Gators.
The Gators are home again. Gators are playing a ranked team again. Now, again, keep in mind, as we sent these picks out, we have to give our people at least 48 hours to make the pick. So again, the rankings were not done yet. Now, Florida, you guys know, we know, have jumped up way up into the rankings. I believe they're 12th already.
Yeah.
So even though we've got
Massive.
number 20 Kentucky at Florida, Florida is now technically higher in the rankings than Kentucky.
Right. And we have one Kentucky pick with Jen. Everybody else is joining us with the Gators.
Very interesting game featuring, again, at the time, number 10 Baylor at number 25 BYU. I've seen a lot of expert picks going both ways on this. A lot of people like BYU.
A lot of people like Baylor.
I've heard Baylor's fast, but BYU brought back their entire defense. So these kids have played together a full year.
It's an intriguing matchup. This was a tough one to pull, to make a pick on.
Yeah, we got 5 Baylor and 3 BYU among our 8 panelists.
Yep. I went with BYU, as did Sam and Nick. So I took them because when in doubt, go with the home team.
Yeah. Now, you just went with the Mormons because you appreciate Zach Thomas and his sexual escapades since he came out of BYU.
Yeah, there you go.
Throwing bombs and banging bombs! He's got a lot of time to do it since he's on the shelf for the first 3 weeks.
Mr. Robinson there.
Yeah. You're going to have to get on top, man. I can't do anything with my meniscus.
Getting taken care of by his mom's best friend.
Mrs. Robinson.
All right.
Yeah, Baylor, I just think better team, quicker team. I'll take them.
There you go.
Final pick for college this week. Mississippi State at Arizona.
The Pirate.
I wouldn't have put this game on the slate if it was at Mississippi State, but I figure Arizona had a very impressive win last week on our slate that you picked correctly.
Yes.
One of the few who picked that game correctly, by the way. So I figured let's do it again, just like with the Gators.
Let's see what Arizona, what do they get?
But
not a lot of love for Arizona. Only Aaron is going with them. The rest of us take Mississippi State and Mike Leach.
Yeah, and you're taking the SEC over the Pac-12.
Yeah,
I think is the big thing.
That's the other big thing.
A middling Pac-12 team against a middling SEC team. I'm taking the SEC team every time.
There you go.
All right, kids. We got through all our picks.
Woohoo!
How about that? Feeling pretty
good.
And we
weren't late.
No. We had a little carryover issue with the NFL.
Yep.
But that was to be expected because we had to cover season predictions.
Yep. So Brian Kelly would be happy with us for being on time, unlike the media down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, that's true. That's another game we can talk about here before the segment wraps. Of course, the thriller Sunday night between Florida State and LSU. Lucky enough to have caught the last 7-8 minutes of it where all the action happened. LSU was down 2 touchdowns, came back. You had fumbles, you had muff punts, you had blocked extra points.
It was an ugly home game for the Tigers.
But then, of course, the press conference was even better.
Yeah, where Kelly calls out the media who are late, telling them that, that's usually a $10 fine that goes into the kitty for an end-of-the-year party at my place. So, and then
one female
reporter goes, well, if you'd win, we'd be on time. And his response was, winning's got nothing to do with it. It's just about being on time to the start of something.
And a lot of people are second-guessing him and saying he should have gone for 2. The rule, as I understand it,
is you go for the win on the road, you play for the tie in overtime at home.
There you go.
For me, I say you go for the win at home.
Oh, so you're going to dispute this age-old cliche of sports?
Yes. If you have a chance for the win, you take it. You never play for the tie. You go for the win. Put him out of your misery early.
Honestly, neither team deserved to win that game.
No.
They both made critical mistakes down the stretch.
Yeah, it was just a poorly played game. You would expect something like that out of Florida State.
Again, another program that has fallen on hard times.
You wouldn't expect this out of LSU with the expectations that they had. So we'll see. Well, welcome to the SEC, Brian Kelly. You should have known this was coming when you moved down.
Yep. And they've got a tough game coming up. We just talked about Mississippi State. Mike Leach is coming into the Bayou in a couple weeks.
Yep, that'll be interesting.
All right, kids. Segment 3 will be a wrap-up of baseball, basketball, tennis, whatever we've got, a dumbass or two, a moment of silence or two. Hang out for just a little bit more with us. Dave and I will be right back.
Greetings, sports fans. Listen to the screaming geniuses of Sports Frenzy 2.0 every Thursday as they bring you the thrill of victory and the agony of stupidity on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. And check out the Facebook page, Sports Frenzy 2.0.
Hey, everybody, time to wrap up Sports Frenzy 2.0 for yet another week. But, of course, football is here. So, each and every week, we are your place to come to for picks, predictions, fantasy football analysis. As always, check out our Facebook page each and every weekend for our picks, for the college ranks, for the professional ranks. Don't forget, we've got NASCAR picks posted as well.
Still baseball.
Speaking of which, we've got NASCAR to discuss. The playoffs have begun, of course. Week 1 of the playoffs was Darlington.
Yep.
Kind of a mess.
Southern 500 was kind of a chaotic scene in a number of ways. Harvick goes up in flames. That was crazy.
I still have not got confirmation if that was an engine failure on Truex. Because initially they were saying that something had possibly knocked a belt off.
And if it was with the oil cooler or whatever, it could have been enough to do something to fry the engine.
Right. But now Kyle Busch, that was an out-and-out engine failure.
Yeah. Yeah, the dominant car of the night.
Yep.
Blowing an engine was crazy.
Yeah, both of those cars, Truex and Kyle Busch, were running really well. At one point, Joe Gibbs Racing had all 4 cars in the top 10, including the top 3.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then, of course, Truex, Kyle Busch
bye-bye,
fell into misfortune. Denny Hamlin ran really well, finished second to Mr. Eric Jones. Mr. Jones. I like seeing Eric Jones win. It makes me feel good. It's
really nice to see him win. And when do you see a non-chaser win in the final 10 races?
Yeah, very rare. Very rare. We might see it once a year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But to come out right off the bat, I like it.
Yeah.
I like seeing him racing for the win.
No automatic pass. Since none of the playoff cars won, nobody got an automatic pass into the second round.
Points are at a premium now.
So, Dave mentioned Kevin Harvick's car caught on fire. NASCAR very concerned. Of course, if you heard Kevin Harvick's comments after they pulled him aside, he was not a happy camper.
No.
Basically said the cars are junk, the parts are junk.
Yeah, we've kind of seen that here and there, that this next-gen car, they got a lot of work to do on the off-season, kids.
But, of course, as Dave always loves in-season changes,
not.
NASCAR has decided to allow extra coating, intumescent coating allowed at certain areas on the bottom of the car to help hopefully alleviate any kind of car fires.
I thought we weren't able to do anything to the cars. You had to use the parts that were mandated and not differentiate from anything. Gee, one incident and here they're pulling this crap. Let's see if it happens again. before they decide to make sweeping changes in the middle of the season. If you want to rectify it, do it after the season.
So basically what Dave's saying is he wants somebody to burn alive in a car. Damn the safety measures.
We haven't seen this happen. It was a fluky thing.
I'm just giving you a hard time. It's what I do.
I know.
So one other quick headline before we move on to our picks for the second playoff race. Oh, the fleeting happiness for Austin Dillon, reality television star. He wins the final race of the regular season, gets into the playoffs, and next thing you know, his crew chief is leaving at the end of the year.
Oh, there's a shot.
Justin Alexander announces he will be done as Austin Dillon's crew chief once the 2022 season is over.
Probably tired of dealing with his prima donna attitude. That would be my guess.
Oh, Dave, you're such a harsh critic of humanity.
Yes, I am. The
need,
entitled grandson of the team owner? Come on.
You just need to love humanity like me.
You love it less than I do.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Don't worry. That's coming in just a couple minutes after we discuss our picks for race 28 of the 2022 NASCAR Cup season. Again,
going to
very solemn day, September the 11th.
Going to Cookie Cutter, Kansas.
The Hollywood Casino 400.
Blah, 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 blah.
Of course, our rules for our Frenzy Cup competition change. Everybody got in except for Sam because he's a quitter. He's done this before. He has a reputation to uphold, but I digress.
He's not bitter, kids.
I would like to point one thing out, though, when it comes to Doug. I don't know if we mentioned this last week. Doug was the final of the 7 remaining panelists to make it into the Frenzy Cup playoffs after Daytona. He made it in by 1 point. Last year, before the 2021 season, we put in a new rule. We started giving our contestants bonus points if they picked a driver who won a stage in the regular season. Guess what? Doug would not have made the Frenzy Cup playoffs here in 2022 if it weren't for the bonus points he got for winning some stages in the regular season.
On. Very interesting.
So, once again, I pat myself on the back for spearheading yet another rule change that ends up being beneficial to my fellow man.
It's one more person we have to battle.
I told you I wasn't happy that you made it, that Bill made it, that Doug made it. I was guaranteed 4th place. And then goddamn William Byron can't do anything, can't move that 10th place number, so you guys all get to waltz frickin' in. After all the hard work, I was the points leader in the regular season.
Good for you.
Yeah, I didn't have a goddamn win, though. Thanks, Denny Hamlin.
No kidding. That hurt me big time. I should have been in earlier than the last race of the season.
I haven't gone back and looked. We might have mentioned this. This had to be the fewest collective wins among the 8 of us we've ever had.
Probably.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Just so topsy-turvy.
We didn't even make double digits, I don't think, in wins. If we did, we got to 10.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Among all of us.
Yeah, all 8 of us collectively might have got 10 wins. I think it was 9. I'm going to say it was 9.
I think that you're right.
Maybe 8, definitely 9, possibly 10 at the most. That being said, playoff reset. We get 1 pick per driver for the rest of the playoffs. For the Hollywood Casino 400, I'm taking Denny Hamlin. So is Bill, so is Jen, and so is Doug. So 4 out of the 7 remaining take Denny Hamlin.
Yep. I am taking Kyle Busch.
Again, dominant car last week until he had engine failure.
Yep. I had Hamlin last week who got me 2nd.
Of course, Dave, yes, moved up big time in the standings after the first playoff race, now in 2nd overall. Nick, who unfortunately had Kevin Harvick, went from a tie for first down to seventh. He is taking Joey Logano after he initially wanted to take Kurt Busch. And I had to say,
remember, he's still concussed and is not racing.
I know you don't really follow NASCAR, but come on. He's not running. He's had a concussion now for going on 2 months.
Yeah, not a good situation.
So Nick is taking Joey Logano, and Aaron, our leader, is taking Kyle Larson. So there you go. There are our picks for the Hollywood Casino 400 this coming Sunday. Couple of quick NBA notes that I missed last week. I told you people when we talked about the NBA draft, I said Orlando cannot pick that big, thin, white guy, Chet Holmgren.
We talked about the fragile nature of his body type, that he wouldn't be able to hold up.
The second coming of Sean Bradley. Guess what? He went number 2 to Oklahoma City, and now he is already out for the 2022-2023 season with a Lisfranc injury in his foot.
There you go.
Once again, Sports Frenzy says, we told you so. The New York Knicks ink R.J. Barrett to a 4-year, $120 million extension, which effectively took them out of the market for one, Donovan Mitchell, the hottest name on the trade market. The Utah Jazz, Danny Ainge trying to rebuild that team, trading off all his assets for picks, and more picks. He sends Donovan Mitchell to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Interesting.
Could the Cavaliers actually find some success without one LeBron James involved?
We could only hope. We could only hope.
This is interesting because he's coming in. The Cavaliers gave up one of their good young players, a couple other decent guys, but they kept most of their young core intact, bringing in the veteran Mitchell, the all-star. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. This is going to be interesting to see who's going to be favored coming out of the East now. We have got to talk about the final rounds here of the U.S. Open coming up. Next week, of course, we will discuss who ends up winning, but the big names are out. Serena Williams, of course. Only so much you can do when you're, she's 40 years old. She's old.
Yeah.
And she got into the third round. Good for her. Got knocked out in the third.
She gave a valiant effort.
Yep.
She left everything out on the court, played very well to get to the point where she did. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Nope. Rafael Nadal got knocked out in the round of 16. So he will not be able to extend his lead over the ridiculously absent Novak Djokovic when it comes to career men's Grand Slam championships.
Yep.
And our favorite
dipwad in tennis from down under, Nick Kyrgios, once again shows what a namby-pamby, hot-tempered little baby he actually is. Losing in 5 sets, nearly breaks his racket, slamming it down in frustration. Dude, rein it in. Come on.
Yeah, he gets knocked out in the quarterfinals, and that wasn't even the worst thing that Kyrgios did. I believe it was the match before. Maybe it was this match where he got beat in the quarters. I think it was a match before, though, where he actually crossed around the net before the play was over and hit the ball on the other side.
No!
Complete and total breach of tennis etiquette.
The guy is a moron.
The only reason he's not a dumbass of the week is because we needed to bring this up in the context of our U.S. Open recap. Otherwise,
that was full dumbass
he's
mode.
Becoming a almost weekly contestant for the Red Foreman dumbass
anytime
of the
there's
week.
a major tennis tournament, he could be considered
of course,
a dumbass.
He said that as well. He said something in one of the press conferences, again, probably after the loss.
Complaining that Sports Frenzy calls him a dumbass?
No. You keep Sports Frenzy's name out your mouth! No, he basically said, I don't even know why we bother playing these tournaments if it's not a major. I don't care. I don't care if it's not a major. Why should I care about it?
Bye-bye.
What a class act this guy is. Speaking of class acts, now it's time for the maestro to get mad. Now it's time for the maestro to get upset.
It's time to get mad.
Dave, do you remember years ago when there was a scandal involving Duke lacrosse?
Yes.
Rape allegations. Rolling Stone magazine got involved.
They did the big article against the lacrosse team, getting them banned.
Reactionary stuff.
Yes.
Everybody piled on.
One of the first reactionary.
And it turns out what?
It was unfounded.
Correct. Now, somehow Duke gets involved in yet another incident. Last week, a Duke women's volleyball player claims in a match at BYU that she was constantly peppered with racial slurs from the crowd. Here's the thing. Now, BYU's administration comes out very contrite. Of course, again, I always say, don't apologize until there's proof that you have something to apologize for.
Right.
BYU bent over backwards, said, we failed. We never should have let this happen. Then it turns out...
Did it happen?
Then it turns out that maybe a Utah State student was the one. Maybe. So what do? They do their due diligence. They pour through video footage of the entire match.
Which should have been done before any apology was issued.
No video evidence of anybody saying a racial slur during the match. No evidence whatsoever. But this doesn't stop South Carolina's women's basketball coach. Yes, I know she's considered a god in the women's basketball ranks, probably second now to Gino Auriemma when it comes to coaches. Dawn Staley. She decides, well, I'm not putting up with this because we're supposed to play BYU in the next 2 years in a home-and-home series. I'm canceling the series because they're a bunch of racists. Now, she didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing. She basically said, I don't think this would be the right time for South Carolina to continue on and pursue this home-and-home series. Basically implying BYU people are a bunch of racists.
And she said this before the investigation was completed, didn't she?
Right around the same time.
God, people, get over yourselves!
Stop being reactionary idiots. And Dawn Staley, you're the racist. When you pull shit like this, you're the racist. I have no problem saying anybody, whether it's a black woman, black man, white guy, white woman, whoever. I don't buy into this crap that only white guys can be racist. Everybody can be racist if their heart is full of hate. Dawn Staley obviously has a heart full of hate. So do I. But I'm calling out Dawn Staley. She wants to call me out. She's more than welcome to come on Sports Frenzy. I'd be more than happy to debate the issue with her. Because guess what? There is no issue. There's no video evidence of any racial incident with the Duke volleyball player and the crowd at BYU. So there is no debate. Your reactionary racism disgusts me. Rant over.
All right.
Chalk that one up. Put it in the annals. I don't think my veins pulsing too hard right now.
No,
I just took my
was
blood
calm
pressure
for you.
medication
That
a couple
was calm
hours ago.
for you, so all is good.
You think that was good? Okay. Well, if Dave thinks I was calm, then I feel good.
Yes, you did not completely blow a gasket. Your face did not get beet red. I was not worried about a stroke.
There we go. So I've accomplished my goals on multiple levels tonight. And I don't think I'm going to get weekend edition maybe. Maybe got some stuff coming up on the weekend edition.
All right.
All right, time to move on to our moments of silence.
We've got the Boys of Summer recap, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I almost wanted to skip it because there's nothing going on. Really nothing going on.
Other than the White Sox are actually playing some of their best baseball of the year since La Russa is on his medical leave. They're playing pretty well under their bench coach, Miguel Cairo. 6-2. So 2.5 back. They're still not going to make the playoffs. But it's nice to see at least some semblance of what we had hoped for all season.
Yep, 69-68 as we tape. The only real thing I can say about the White Sox is that the heartbreak
of Dylan Cease
losing his no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th.
Oh,
back
my God.
on September the 3rd.
Why did you pitch a strike to Reyes? He's the one guy who is going to kill you. Even in the telecast, AJ goes, you don't have a perfect game on the line. You already have a couple of walks. Walk him and get to the next guy. Keep the no-hitter intact. Next pitch, boom, single into right center. Ugh, the frustration. But there you go. It's nice to see Cease battle like that. National game. Maybe that's what he needed to showcase for his Cy Young bid.
Yeah, with Verlander out, you know, a couple more strong starts. From what I'm hearing, Verlander might not be ready until the end of the regular season.
Yeah, and Cease has already been putting up similar, if not better, numbers than Verlander. So we'll see what happens.
All right, the Cubs.
They are what they are.
57-78. Also in third place like the White Sox. Big difference, though. Whereas the White Sox are 2.5 out, the Cubs are 22.5 out.
Ouch.
So the only other thing to bring up in baseball.
Judge hit his 55th. Continues on his tear.
Yeah. The only thing I can really hope with that situation, because I'm loving the fact the Yankees are struggling. Starting to play out of it a little bit, but they've kind of let the Tampa Bay Rays back into that divisional race.
They did, and injuries have really taken their toll.
Rizzo, bad reaction to an epidural because of his back. He's now on the IL.
Out with headaches. Benintendi, who they just got via trade, out with a broken wrist.
Yep. Nestor Cortez, their stud pitcher, still on the IL. Now I'm beginning to wonder, initially I thought it was to save his arm because he's not used to pitching a lot of innings.
Now it's looking like it's a legitimate injury.
Yeah, because I would think by now they would have brought him back if they were just trying to save a few innings for him.
Yeah.
Because letting the Rays creep within 5 games, now you have got to show up.
Yeah, now it's time.
Of course, the Mets in the National League, another New York team, of course, scuffling here a little bit. Although they did sweep a doubleheader today from the Pirates to get back on track. But those 2 pitchers they've got, everybody looked at that and said, Scherzer, DeGrom, that's going to carry them. Well,
guess what?
DeGrom was injured the first part of the year. Now Scherzer's starting to have issues. They just had to put him on the IL.
And Atlanta has caught them.
Yep, up until today. Now, of course, the doubleheader sweep helps out the
Mets. But Atlanta is right there, and Atlanta has been playing some damn good baseball.
Right. And it's a big deal because the Dodgers are probably going to lock up the number 1 seed in the NL here pretty soon.
Yep.
So whoever comes out on top between the Mets and the Braves is going to get that number 2. That means the other team's a wild card. Yes, they'll get to host a wild card series under the new format,
But then they're on the road.
They still have to play the extra round.
Yep. That's going to hurt.
Whereas the Dodgers and the winner
of the East.
Now, the Cardinals still aren't out of it either. They've been playing very well lately. But I really think it's going to be the Mets or the Braves getting that second bye.
Yeah.
All right, you feel better now because we talked baseball?
Yeah, we had to do our due diligence.
I know. I'm a Cubs fan.
You have nothing.
I have nothing. No. My life is empty when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, there you go. All right, moments of silence. All right. Former NFL player, former center, Jay Morris, who was also coach at Baylor in Kentucky, passed away, 71 years old. Jay played in the NFL in Super Bowls for the Eagles and the Patriots. Unfortunately for him, both losses to the Raiders and to the Bears.
And that Bears team, greatest team ever. Damn Skippy. Also, another moment of silence here for Ernie Shavers, legendary boxer. Of course, never quite got to the level of Frazier or Ali or Foreman, but he was a very good fighter for his time. So, thoughts and prayers to his family and friends as well. Believe it or not, as Dave notes, we always do our pivot. I had Dawn Staley, but I had to talk about her. She could have been a dumbass this week. So I was literally looking at possibly the first ever
dumbass free.
Yeah, pass on the dumbasses of the week. And then lo and behold, just a few hours before we started taping, I get manna from heaven. I get a dumbass handed to me on a silver platter. Doug Gottlieb.
Oh, God.
How's it feel to be the face of everything that is wrong with the media today, Mr. Gottlieb? Remember, we talked about this a while back. We talked about the fact that Doug Gottlieb reported through his sources that Freddie Freeman's agent did not disclose the Braves' final offer to Freddie Freeman before he signed with the Dodgers. He was all over the media, national media,
saying, "Oh, I got this scoop for you."
Well, of course, the agent for Freddie Freeman, Casey Close, filed a lawsuit.
Right. A defamation.
So guess what Mr. Gottlieb had to do today?
Did he have to offer an official public apology?
Yes. A lengthy apology saying his sources were incorrect and that there is no evidence that Agent Casey Close did not disclose the Braves' offer to Freddie Freeman. Mr. Gottlieb goes on to say that now I realize after more investigation and discussions with Casey Close that it looks like he indeed did inform Freddie Freeman of all offers on the table before Mr. Freeman chose the Dodgers.
Gee, Mr. Gottlieb, shouldn't you have checked with the agent before you made the report? Isn't that what being a reporter is? Verifying both sides to get the true story? Oh, no, not in this day and age. We'll just make some shit up and everybody will believe it.
So once again, Doug Gottlieb saved Sports Frenzy from having to leave barren our most important, significant segment every week, the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week. You, Mr. Gottlieb, now hold the distinction
of
this
being
week,
a two-time winner.
And this week, the sole, lone, only Dumbass of the Week. Congratulations. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy it on Dumbass Island by yourself.
There you go. Hey, don't forget, tune in Saturday morning for the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0.
That's right. Dave and I will review Jurassic World Dominion, as well as new music from King's X, Megadeth, The Struts, and Ugly Kid Joe. So check out the weekend edition. Hits every Saturday morning, the exact same places you find this sports podcast.
Yep. So until then,
he's the Conquistador Dave Height.
He's the Maestro Kevin Crane.
We hope you had fun. We did, as always. We warmed up for this podcast, by the way, we should note, with an old Sports Frenzy friend who was featured on the cable access version 30 years ago. Pork and beans, Al. Good to talk to you tonight, buddy.
Yeah, we had a blast.
We'll talk to everybody else out there next Thursday morning. See you, kids.